Hi everyone, welcome back. Sorry I haven't posted in a while. I've been busy and I just didn't really want to, so that's why I haven't done it in a while. So I sound a little bit deeper throated right now because I have a sore throat and a cold, so it'll probably sound a little bit deeper than normal, but we're gonna do this, so yeah. In case you're wondering about the update with the chickens, unfortunately 2 of them died, sadly, and so we only have 1 left, and so we got more chicks recently, and I will post that video connected to this one right after this. And we also got baby kittens, so yeah, that's fun, and I will show those 2 videos right now. Kittens, mama, so today we are going to be talking about a book from a book series, and I'm probably going to just ramble most of it, but y'all can skip if you want, or you can go forward, or that kind of thing. And yes, this is our cat, Tabitha, as I'm sure you're aware. Yeah, so in that last video, yeah, she's the mama of the kittens, and she likes to just come and sit with people whenever they move around the yard or come out, you know, that kind of thing. So she's really nice. Today, like I said, we're talking about a book, and the book we're going to be talking about is Goose Girl by Shannon Hale, and the series is called The Books of Baron, as you can see, and she is a New York Times best-selling author. She is actually one of my favorite authors, and she's actually really, really good. So this is the cover. As you can see, there are 2 main covers, but this is the one I got a while ago. And yes, it's a paperback. Well, I will say this. So I'm going to give you all a summary first, so that those of you who don't want to know about the book, what's in it, all that stuff, as I take you through the book and we break it down step by step. That way you can just find out what it's about and be like, okay, yeah, I want to read this, and then you can just like see that part and then, I don't know, leave the video and just go and read the book. You should be able to find it at your local library because it's fairly popular, but yeah, so Goose Girl, let's see what the summary says. So this is what this summary says on the back. It says, some people are born with the first word of a language resting on their tongue, though it may take some time before they can taste it. Anadori Kiladra Taliana Isili, Crown Princess of Kildenry, spends the first years of her life listening to her aunt's stories and learning the language of birds, especially swans. As she grows up, Annie develops the skill of animal speech, but she never feels quite comfortable speaking with people. So when Annie's mother sends her away to be married in a foreign land, she finds herself at the mercy of her silver-tongued lady-in-waiting, who leads a mutiny that leaves her alone, destitute and fleeing for her life. To survive, Annie takes on work as a royal goose girl, hiding in plain sight while she develops her forbidden talents and works to discover her own true, powerful voice. And of course, the New York Times book review said it was enchanting, and I definitely agree with that. But that is the summary for this book, so that's what it says on the book for the summary. And yeah, it's exactly that when it talks about, and so that's the summary. So yeah, now we're gonna dive into the book, and I will explain it in further. So Goose Girl is about a girl, like it says in the summary, named Anadori. I'm not even gonna say it again because it's long, but she goes by Annie, and ever since she was little, her mother has, well, let me just read the first line of the book. So, when you open the book, you get this lovely books by Shannon Hale, and we can go over those later. But She says, it's for Dean, best friend, companion, and sequester keeper. You are home. And for Mom and Dad, happy days to you. Love, Shannon. And then this is her map of the story where this takes place. So, over here you've got, oops, Bayern, the capital, and then this is where she lives, Great Valley City, the forest, and yeah, Bayern. So, sorry, I had to leave for a second. Anyway, part 1, Crown Princess, and it says, and I promise we're not going to be going through the book, like, page by page. I just want to read the beginning. She was born, Anadora Caladra Taliana Isili, Crown Princess of Kildenry, and she did not open her eyes for 3 days. And the reason that's significant is because her mother, actually, really wanted her to, because she's Crown Princess, the firstborn, because, Crown Princess means your firstborn daughter, or first girl, in other words. So she's Crown Princess, and then her, her mom wanted her to be available. Of course, her mother didn't nurse her or feed her. They had wet nurses for that. And, for those 3 days, she didn't open her eyes. She had physicians and stuff come in and, try and make her open her eyes. It didn't work, and then her aunt came in and, told her stories till she opened her eyes, and, yeah, it kind of freaked the queen out. But after that, she kind of became, Annie's companion, and she taught Annie to talk to swans, and Annie learned to understand their calls, their mimics, and her aunt told her hundreds of stories about creation and about the way things work in this world of theirs, and so much more. And it's such an amazing story to listen to, and read, goodness, listen to. For me, when I read a book, it just plays through my head like a movie. So, but it's a really, really good story, and we've only just broken the beginning. Again, if you're only looking to see what happens at the end or a specific part, please be my guest and skip ahead. I tend to talk a lot. So, where was, oh yeah. So, Annie learns to mimic the calls of other birds. She can talk, she understands chickens, crows, and owls, and, just birds that were around the palace that she got to mimicking and understanding by watching them. So, but swans are the ones that she's the best at. So, she's later on found to be talking to the swans, and her aunt has to leave, and the queen's upset that she's been teaching her about birds, and so Annie finds out that her aunt dies, and it's very traumatic for her, and she is found sneaking away during a party to go and sleep with the swans, and so she gets in trouble for that, and it causes a big bother between everyone. And after that, she's never allowed near animals again, because, like it says after this, let me find it. Bear with me. This is what the queen says after she gets fevers from sleeping with the swans for the night. Keep her resting, said the queen, and away from birds. So, after that, she is not allowed near any of the birds. She does take up riding later, and she and her horse have a unique connection. She can speak to it. And the reason why is, as her aunt said in the story, every animal is born with their name on their lips. So if you're there at their birth, you can hear it sometimes. And so she heard her horse's name. Let me see how to pronounce this. Falada. Right here it says. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing any of these, but doing my best here. Falada. And she's a really sweet horse, but they can communicate mind to mind, which is obviously unusual. So they have a very unique connection, because Annie was there at Falada's birth, and she fell into Annie's arms, and she was able to speak the name that she heard back to the horse, and through that they created their connection. So she and her father like to ride a lot. Annie, of course, this is now when she's 16 almost, so about 15 and so. And so her father and her like to ride, and she's acting the part of a princess, trying her best to fill that spot, that role, that position. But obviously for her it's hard because that's not quite who she is. She can't quite meet their expectations with wholeheartedness. So of course she acts courteous and kind and lovely, and you know, perfect and all that, or tries to be. And her lady-in-waiting is a girl named Celia, who is actually quite nasty, but she's like this poised, perfect girl. But anyway, she goes to a bunch of teas and all that, and so one day while she's riding with her father, there's an accident, and when they jump a fence, and so the father dies. And the father was the only one who was really kind to Annie because he loved her, he would hold her, take care of her, whereas the queen is very strict and unkind and a little bit harsh, and she's very unloving, I'd say. She has a gift of people speaking, which means basically you can do, if you say something, you said, bring me that water, you would bring it to them. You basically do what they say. They basically worm their way into your mind with words. The words are like mesmerizing and charming, and you're powerless to resist it, pretty much. So pretty cool, but also dangerous, very, very dangerous. And then of course there's the elements speaking, wind, tree speaking, fire speaking, and water speaking, of course. And when you know the language of these things, you can use them, and so it's actually quite cool. And that's pretty much what the whole entire series is about. But I'm sorry. Annie she talks to her mother after her father's death, and she is being demoted. She is no longer in line for being queen. Her brother is being made king instead, and so at first she's like really, really mad about it, but her mother is the gift of people speaking, and so of course Annie can do nothing. Instead, she finds out that she has been betrothed to the prince of the city, Bayern, which, as you saw, was here. And so she has to go from here all the way to here. So, the capital. So from here to here. So of course she's not happy about it, but it was settled years ago. So she can't do anything about it, unfortunately, and so she concedes to go, and her brother feels bad about becoming king, but she tells him not to be upset about it. And she actually has two other siblings. So she's the oldest, and then her brother Caleb, and then Napralina and Susanna. So, wait, is it Susanna? No, sorry, my bad. Just two other siblings. She's got, no, it might be. I think it is Susanna. Let me check real quick, because it will tell us. It should say here in a minute. Yes, Susanna. Ophelia. Susanna. Anyway, so yeah, Susanna and Napralina, and so she leaves to go, and she has this guard. His name is Talon, and he is the captain, and he's a really, really good man throughout the story. But along the way, Selena and her guards split off from the group, and it was planned beforehand, but they, as a mutiny, they kill everyone in the guard and almost kill the princess, but she runs off on one of the horses. Of course, she gets separated from Falada during that time, sadly, but she goes away on a horse and nearly dies of starvation, thirst and starvation. But she talks to the birds and the owls, and she's able to go to somebody who helps her and takes her to takes her in. And then later on, she's helped out by the lady's son, and he takes her to the city, and she's going to show herself and say, you know, she's the princess, because all of the people in Bayern have dark hair. None of them have fair hair, and Annie, as you can see in this picture, is very, very fair-haired. So she's got beautiful waist-length blonde hair, and so she goes into the city, but before she goes, she darkens her eyebrows with charcoal and keeps her hair wrapped up in a scarf, or so that she doesn't show who she is. And so she goes to the king and is about to reveal herself when she realizes that Selina is already there in her place, saying that she's the princess. So that's a big problem throughout for her. So she decides just instead to ask for a job. So she wants to work with Falada because she knows that, you know, she would have been brought there because of how royal Falada was. Because, you know, Falada is a royal horse, and she's got all the banners and markings that a princess would have on her horse. So, but unfortunately there's no position open at the time. The only position they have is caring for the geese. So she goes on as a goose girl. Becomes friends with the workers there, because there's just a bunch of workers who take care of like the pigs, the geese, the chickens. And so she learns the geese's tongue after a long time of trying hard. But she eventually learns it, and she becomes friends with a goose named Jock, who got hurt. She named him Jock, short for joke. But, she becomes best friends with the geese, and she tries to find the Falada, but she's too late, and Falada dies. Well, it gets killed because Falada's gone mad. Thanks to one of Selina's guards. And really, there's just too much in this book. I could talk for hours and hours about it, so I'm trying to give a brief but not so brief summary. And during this time, she's learning the language of wind, and so she's able to move like a couple of leaves and lift a couple of strands of her hair, so she's learning to control it slightly. And so throughout the story, that's what happens. And so eventually, of course, one of the workers, the boy that she works with to care for the geese, it's a gaggle of 50, but there are only, I think, like 47 at the time when she comes, because a couple got lost. He doesn't like her because she always has her hair covered and her eyebrows dyed, and so it's just a big misunderstanding, just a big whole thing. She makes friends with Ina, who sees her with her hair uncovered, tells her the story, and Ina believes her and becomes her best friend and helps her stay out of trouble. Now, of course, she does, go into, anyway, after telling Ina, they go to a fair, and she gets captured by Ishta and Yasha, and they try to take her back with them. She ends up escaping with the help of some peacekeepers in town, and they kill one of them. And so after that, she goes back, but they know that she's there in the place, and so she goes and she continues to work, and at this point she's trying to save enough money to go back to Kildenry and talk to her mother about what's happened. But she gets, one of the nights she goes to sleep, and Selina's main guard comes in and tries to kill her. But she sleeps with a goose, Jock, and his mate, and so they wake her up, and she is able to escape. So after that, though, he chases her. She's able to get out of the room. Hey, Tabitha. She's able to get out of the room, but he chases her, and he throws his dagger into her back, and she almost dies, but she gets away. The old lady that helped her before helps her again, and after that, she finds out that Talon, her captain, is actually still alive, doing the same thing that she was doing to be able to get back to Kildenry, because he thought that she was dead. But then they together decide to go and try and stop the wedding of Selena and the prince. Like I said, sick. Anyway, and then, oh, I forgot to mention, Garrick. Gedrick. Let me look at how it's pronounced. Choo-choo. Let's see. Choo. See if I can find it. Garrick. So, his name is Garrick. Anyway, he comes and visits her a couple times, and she fell in love with him. And it's actually, they have a funny relationship, and they're so cute together. And so, Talon, and they go back to talk to the workers and ask them for help, because they need more people, otherwise they will fail. So they go, and the workers are all willing to help them, because Ina had to tell them so they would go and help. And they end up all going to the palace, but the prince has moved with his bride to the palace further north to get married. And so they get horses, and he gets a dress, and they go to the palace, posing as her sister, Napralina, Victory. And so they get admitted, but she's taken to Celia first. By this point in time, she's wearing a beautiful ball gown, so she actually looks like a princess. So Celia talks to her beforehand, and then she goes before the king and talks to him, but he doesn't believe her, obviously, because Celia has, the gift of people speaking. But it turns out that Garrick is the prince who she fell in love with, and he fell in love with her, and that's why he... Anyway, so she finds out about that because he said that he was just a guard. So anyway, she tries to plead her case, but it doesn't work, and so the king decides that she should stay and talk with Celia, because basically they make it seem like she is the rogue handmaiden. And so they leave, and Celia talks to her and says that she will agree to her demands and a bunch of other stuff, and then they actually say their whole plan right before Annie. And Garrick and the king actually ended up hearing about it because they were hiding behind a tapestry in the room. And so it was kind of funny, just for the reveal. And so after that, there's a big battle, and Annie ends up being alright in the end. So does Garrick. Nobody but Celia's guards die. Celia tries to talk her way out of it. It doesn't work. And so she's sentenced to death by being rolled naked in a barrel of nails. So, pretty awful way to die. And it was Celia's own judgment, because that's what she said Annie should have done to her. So, quite wonderful. After that, of course, they talk, and then Annie and Garrick are planned to be wed. And she's learned to use the wind by this time, and so she uses it to help her several times throughout uses it to help her in the battle. But it's really, 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 really good story, and obviously the first one's about her using wind and being able to learn that language. And actually on the cover you can see some swans here, so, or geese, I guess, and so it's actually really cool cover. Anyway, overall, for me, I thought it was a great book. Amazing. No swearing whatsoever throughout the book. No sex. No... There is a little bit of violence, but there's not, like, overly violence. Obviously, there's a couple of, the battle scenes, but she's not, like, gory or super, super, super descriptive, which I really appreciate. It's a good book, I'd say, I wouldn't have, like, your 6-year-old read it, or even like your 7-year-old, because I've got little siblings and I wouldn't like read it to them yet, just because it's more of an older book. It's like ages, I'd say 12 to above and beyond, 12 and up, because it does discuss a little bit more older things, and you know, it's about a 16-year-old girl and her life and how things used to be, and it's set in like the medieval century, so it is not for like little kids, I'd say, but I think honestly a whole family could enjoy it. It's really just up to you. Me personally, it just didn't seem like good for like little kids, and I think, and it is in the juvenile section in like libraries, so, or teen fiction, so it's actually really good, and it's an amazing job with it. Awesome author. And next time we will talk about a bunch of other stuff, like, and for the next like 4 days I'm going to be posting a bunch of, but in her series she's got Goose Girl, then Ina Burning, River Secrets, and Forestborn, and we can talk about those other books another time. I have also read Princess Academy, Palace of Stone, Princess Academy, The Forgotten Sisters, Book of 1,000 Days. I did start Dangerous, but I never finished it, but I think it might be interesting to finish. But I loved all the Princess Academy books. I love the Book of 1,000 Days, and I own these and these, but I don't own this one yet. But amazing books. So yeah, and catch y'all later. Catch y'all next time, and enjoy your day safe, and talk to y'all later. Bye.